Cresta here with you again today, and it's another beautiful sunny day outside. I'm still in the process of getting teeth removed. It's been one tooth after another for about 2 years now. So, if anybody's read my or watched any of my stuff, you know that I was a meth user for about a year with my ex-boyfriend. About it's going on 3 years now, and that I've been clean and sober. In the process, though, I've been losing all my teeth. As you can see, I went from a full set in my mouth to I've got 4 teeth remaining on this side. 1, 2, 2 out in the front there, or 4 out in the front, and then all these on this side are now gone, and I only have 2 remaining. I just had this other one removed the other day. I went through root canals and those all failed. They were all rotted through, so I had to get them out. If anybody has been through this before, you know the sheer torture of how painful it is to go through tooth infections, and then having the teeth heal in the process. It's really been quite a feat, especially I went through mold sickness too. All in all, being undiagnosed with thyroid disease for I don't know how many years now. I know that with my old job, I had to get, and also IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, I had to go basically find work where it was okay to be sick quite more often than the normal person that just has a sick day every once in a while. It's really hard for a lot of people out there that have health problems, that suffer with chronic pain or health problems, to try to live in the world and pay rent, pay bills and everything, even if you're single, or even if you have a spouse or a roommate or something, to keep up. I know it's been a real struggle for me, because a lot of times, even especially when you do work for yourself, how it can just, I work sick anyways a lot, and it's just even more torture, having to do a lot of physical work when you're not feeling good or you don't have enough energy. During this process, it's really taught me so much as well. I do a lot of herbs and natural remedies. If any of you watch my videos, I give practices and techniques, and I've also put videos out about certain herbs and what is good for what. When you have to, it's almost like cancer, like when your body stops functioning, when you get diseases or things like that, how you have to turn, and you had this old certain lifestyle, whether, you were like going for so many years, with everything going right and feeling okay and keeping up with the Joneses and everything, to have a perfect home, a perfect lifestyle, and a perfect car, and perfect clothes, and all of that, and having, a certain amount of friends, and that, relationship that, was always going so well, or maybe if you've always struggled with that, or, having a family. It's amazing how when a person gets sick with something, how it can really just turn your life around, and it's like everything um, changes within a blink of an eye. Um, you know, I have to say that I was listening to a video the other night as I was driving and working about Neil Donald Walsh. If any of you heard of him, he is the writer of Conversations with God. I know that I read that book quite many years ago, and that kind of always lit my fire to listen to stories about near-death experiences, spirituality, heaven, angels, and all that. It's always a big inspiration for many, the spiritual side of life. And as I'm into metaphysical things as well, I've always had this ability to sometimes even foresee things and have dreams. If anybody's an empath out there, you might understand that as we are more sensitive souls, we can connect on almost more of a metaphysical plane sometimes, and that helps guide and direct us. That's also a little bit of what I teach on here, how to use our intuition and gut to guide us towards our dreams and goals, and just to keep us going, especially when life and the chips really get us down, to stay in a more of a motivational state, inspired state, because sometimes life can really drag us down. If we've been all of a sudden put through something that was very traumatic, either when it comes to a beaten relationship, a really hard job, if you've been in an accident, or if you're just coming from a place in your life where things were just boring and mundane, and you wish for bigger, better changes in your life, something more exciting, something more adventurous, a way to get out of the grind or whatever. I always like to live that exciting edge, even as I've fallen ill in my life and have still taking the steps to recuperate and move on. It can be really like a chugga choo choo, and can really go slowly sometimes, and it really takes you from a place where you lived an ordinary life one day, and then all of a sudden, boom, you can't do this or that anymore. You might have to stay home more often, but not to get in that place in your life where you want to give up, and you're so down that you feel like you can't go on. This is what is really, I think the biggest struggle for many of us is having that will to go on and make maybe life extraordinary once again, in an even neater kind of a way. So I was talking about Neil Donald Walsh. I was listening to him as I was driving, and I know that night I was feeling like, kind of like in that downbeaten pattern, like, I've been struggling so hard to try to maybe further my education a bit, but with limited money and limited resources and things, I can only take things so far. But that's part of baby stepping, and having the patience and learning that patience every day to go on, and every day, even though it might feel the same, just to do little steps every day to kind of change and move ahead and move more towards positive achievements and goals. Even when we're so down and it seems like life keeps throwing us those road apples, like for me, how I keep losing teeth, And so the amazing story goes that he began to talk and was discussing his own life. And I'll just give you a little story here about him. He was I believe he was like a radio DJ, or like for the radio industries, and he got into that job and type of work and was working 10 to 12, 16, 18-hour days, like 5 days a week or more working, and doing that same thing like ordinary people do, keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up that really nice car, and keeping up that really nice lifestyle that we work so hard to attain, although inside of ourselves we feel like it's never enough, and we always need more and more and more and more of it. And to the point where people can even become suicidal like that. When we don't even realize that we've come to that point in our lives, and when we might even have everything. Like I was talking about that collapse. Neil went through that as well. He one day was in a car accident and broke his neck. So what happened to him was he spent, a long time in recovery. During that process, lost his house. I'm not sure if he was in a relationship or not. I might have to rewatch it. But just lost so many things, lost that perfect house, lost his perfect job, and got so downtrodden that, and with his slow recovery through that, if you can even imagine going through something as painful as that, where he miraculously did do a recovery and, was healthy again. But during that process, it was like something unconsciously had changed his like alpha brainwaves or something, where he could reach that particular altered state in his mind where he began to hear God, and God began to talk to him and teach him, and then he went around to teaching and writing a book that sold to 1 million plus books. And but I never knew this about him and what he went through in order to be able to gain this beauty and gift that he received through his lifetime. What happened was, not only did he lose his valuables, but he asked and was lent money from his family and friends until they could give him no more, and then he went on to become homeless. And he was homeless, like living in a cardboard box and selling cans for a living to get his next meal. And just hearing that was just so almost omnipotent to me, because it was almost like there was a dream quality in his voice. Like, I think he's also a great storyteller. It came from a deep place inside of him when he was talking. And it really moved me again, even though his book really moved me as well. Just his speaking just really moved me again. I remember that he was saying that he was homeless for about 6 months and living on the street. And I guess back in, when you're homeless like that, I really don't know much about homeless people, although although I've met quite a few in my life, with exes and that, which, especially the people with mental illnesses and stuff, even like narcissistic personality disorder, have a hard time keeping jobs because they're just mentally unstable and they're not able to take care of themselves as well. So it was just cool. He was saying that he wanted to go get another job, but he didn't really quite know what to do. But with courage and just some building his confidence again, he stepped out once again, saved up $1.50 for another shower, which was actually really quite expensive for a homeless person to come up with that amount of money. Showers were expensive, he said. And he walked into an office with his hair still very long, although it was okay back in those days because all the disc jockeys were wearing long hair back then. So he cleaned himself up and he walked into a place and got another job in the radio. And that's really all that I heard about his story. He just told a little bit about it. But he got back on his feet again, and he got back to a place in his life where it was kind of just the same as before, where he was working, constant, a lot of hours, and had a new house and everything, and kind of got back to where he was again, except he still was not finding the satisfaction with his life, and he fell back to the way he was before. But then he started actually hearing this voice, and started having these conversations with God, his inner voice, or something that came through him, a higher being, God himself, or whatever you want to call it, and he began writing. And what it is that when you become in a certain alpha state, or being it maybe like anybody that does have a profession, where they really enjoy what they're doing, where they're in the flow of things, maybe like artists have this, also, of course, writers, where all of a sudden you begin to write something or do a hobby or do something that just brings you the greatest joy and like a blissful state and satisfaction. He went into this place within himself where there was just an absolute peace, and he began writing his book and connecting to this voice. If anybody wants, his name again, I will say, is Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote Conversations with God. I think there's a volume 1 and volume 2. I think he's written other books as well. I can't wait to listen to some more of his YouTube videos about things that he has to say, and it really just is incredible, and his teachings were incredible. And maybe I just want to touch here on, and as I'm learning myself, about finding maybe more of a job or a purpose here for ourselves, maybe that we all can attain one day, is as we search for our higher purpose and our higher calling, really beginning to attain that within us when we find the type of work that we desire, be it service of others and helping of others, or whatever it is, putting yourself out. The same thing can happen when you write a book, plant a tree, leave something behind. Like these videos that I do are kind of more for the world and also my children, a legacy that we can leave behind in joy and in abundance and in a beautiful sense of purpose and fulfillment and successful well-being. I think that that's what we all need to strive for, to live that much saner, dream-filled, beautiful life. and maybe really, maybe our old lifestyles fall behind of us, whether you're dealing with getting out of drug use, maybe getting out of that party scene, or that scene where all of, you had a certain group of friends that ran together and didn't really have much sense or meaning before, but it was just like kind of random and without much of a feeling of fulfillment. I think another way to deal and get out of depression in life is really to go more towards like Neil Donald Walsh, or anybody that you can think of that comes to mind that you can look up to and that can be a more sense of your role model, and to follow them and to follow their lives, and really kind of surround yourself by more supportive people of what you like, and maybe not follow what everybody else is doing or liking. Having your own thing, creating your own thing, getting out of maybe that toxic relationship or whatever it is, moving on and letting that past go, and knowing that you can forgive yourself for maybe a past that you did not know before wasn't working, but now that you do, go more towards changing, whether if you're forced to or not. It's for your good, and you can move to a better place in your life. So thank you for listening today, and may your dreams come true. God bless.